Ghosts in the machine. The freight train cut north through the pitch-black countryside, its rusted wheels grinding along the tracks like a dying heartbeat. Cashin Vale sat in the corner of an empty cargo carriage, Mira opposite him, her coat wrapped tight, fingers scrolling silently through encrypted files on a battered tablet. Rain lashed the outside, and inside, the only light came from the glow of Myra's screen and the faint flicker in Cashin's eyes, an ember he could no longer extinguish. Every few minutes he twitched. A muscle. A breath. A memory that wasn't his. He didn't sleep. Couldn't. Whenever he drifted, it stirred. Ghosts had begun appearing around him, not just flickers or hallucinations now but forms. Half there, half not. Shadowed faces he'd forgotten. Eyes that accused him. The Cairo mission. The girl in the red scarf. The squad mate who bled out while he held the trigger too long. They stared at him in silence. Not screaming. Not attacking. Just watching. Mira looked up. You're seeing them again, aren't you? Cashin nodded. Every time I blink. It's like they're tethered to me. They are, she said softly. Deadlight doesn't just open a gate. It binds souls that died in your presence. Or by your hand. He snorted. That's a bloody long queue. Mira set the tablet down and studied him. You're holding it back better than anyone I've seen. How many were there? He asked quietly. Before me. She didn't answer. That was answer enough. At dawn, they arrived at the drop point outside a decommissioned facility in the Scottish borders. The place had once been a cybernetics testing ground. Now it was just rotting fences and wild overgrowth. Inside they moved through rusted corridors lit by Myra's torch. She stopped at a locked server vault, slid back the panel and tapped her way into the system. Cashin leaned against the wall, hand resting on his sidearm. Something's off, he murmured. Mira paused. What do you mean? He didn't know how to explain it. His skin tingled. His breath clouded even though the air wasn't cold. The ghostly pressure in his skull built steadily. Bang, bang. A terminal screen near the door exploded in a spray of sparks. Mira dropped behind the console. Cashin had already drawn his weapon. Something moved in the corridor. Not footsteps scraping. Nails against concrete. Guttural breathing. A shadow passed in front of the glass. Then it lunged. The creature crashed through the door in a blur, humanoid, twitching, wrapped in flesh like wet gauze. Its face was stitched with ritual markings, and where its eyes should have been, light poured. Cashin fired 3 rounds. 2 hit center mass. 1 clipped its neck. It didn't stop. It screeched, not a sound from a throat but from every bone in its body. Cashin tackled it, slammed it against the server racks. But the creature grabbed his throat and hissed. He knows you. He is you. Cashin's vision blurred. The entity inside him laughed. He shoved the revenant back with inhuman strength, sending it through a pillar. Sparks erupted. The room dimmed. Mira rose from cover, aimed a compact pulse pistol, and fired at the revenant's skull. The creature collapsed in a twitching heap. The lights flickered, and all at once silence returned. Cashin staggered back. The glow in his eyes blazed for a moment, then dimmed. His breath came hard. Sweat clung to his skin like frost. That wasn't just a revenant, Mira said, lowering the pistol. That was directed. Someone sent it after us. Cashin wiped blood from his lip. So they know we're still alive. They know more than that, she replied. They know you're changing. Back at the server rack, Mira worked quickly, pulling fragments of code and surveillance footage. One video file showed a meeting, grainy, timestamped 6 months prior. Cashin stared at the still frame. His old squad. And at the center, Elijah Chin. Alive. Hardened. Wearing scavenged division gear and talking to someone with their face blurred. Cashin narrowed his eyes. He's hiding something, he murmured. Myra's voice was low. They all are. As they left the building, dawn broke over the hills. Cashin paused as a cold gust cut through him. He looked back over his shoulder. In the mist above the building, the ghost of the stitched revenant hung suspended, watching him with those empty, glowing eyes. It didn't speak, but its presence carried a warning. The more Cashin used the thing inside him, the more he fought with it, the less of himself would remain. And someone somewhere was counting on that. The sky was bruised gray by the time they reached Ravenlock, a derelict facility nestled in a valley swallowed by fog and time. Cashin stood at the edge of a crumbling overlook, surveying the ruins. Once, Ravenlock had been a high-security research complex, a prototype site for the earliest Deadlight experiments. Now it was little more than scorched concrete, sagging fences, and rusted signage warning of biological hazards. Mira checked the map on her cracked tablet. This is where the revenants first stabilized. The ones that didn't die outright. Cashin glanced at her. You mean the ones that stayed tethered? She nodded grimly. Ravenlock wasn't shut down. It collapsed. Every researcher inside went dark. They sent in a cleanup team. No one came out. He looked back at the ruins. So we're walking into a graveyard. Not just a graveyard. Myra's voice was quiet. A prison. And the inmates never left. They entered through a broken blast door, torches cutting through the gloom. The smell hit them first, damp metal, burnt flesh, and something older. Something sweet and rotting, like flowers left too long on a grave. Cashin's steps echoed in the narrow corridor. The walls were scorched and scored with claw marks. Some old, some fresh. Mira tapped the side of her torch, scanning the air for chemical traces. Residual psionic readings are off the charts. The boundary here is thin. Cashin slowed. Thin? Between life and death. Her voice barely a whisper. Here you may not always know which side you're on. The deeper they went, the stranger it became. Mirrors covered in black cloth. Chains hanging from vents. Static whispering through the overhead speakers. Cashin paused near a rusted door and saw his own reflection in a pane of shattered glass. Only the reflection blinked before he did. He backed away. Don't look at the mirrors, Mira warned. They're not mirrors anymore. They reached the central chamber, once a surgical hub. A massive gurney dominated the room, stained with years-old blood. Cashin stepped around it, noticing symbols scorched into the floor beneath. Ritualistic. Layered in salt, ash, and air. He knelt. What the hell were they doing down here? Mira crouched beside him. This was never a science project. It was a binding rite. They weren't studying revenants, they were summoning them. She pointed to a fragment of bone fused into the metal wall, its surface carved with words in an archaic language. This isn't protocol, she murmured. It's invocation. Cashin stood slowly. We need to find Elijah. Fast. A sudden crash echoed through the complex. Cashin drew his weapon, Mira behind him instantly. Shadows danced across the hall beyond, and from the dark came voices, dozens of them all whispering the same phrase. He opens the gate. He walks between. Then silence. A figure emerged, staggering, translucent, eyes wide with terror. Cashin raised his pistol, but froze. It was Lane. His old medic. Dead since Cairo. Cass, the ghost rasped. Don't let it in. Cashin's breath caught. Lane? But before he could move, the ghost convulsed and exploded into dust. From the dust rose a second creature, twisted, bone-white, its mouth permanently sewn shut. It lunged. Cashin fired. The bullets slowed it, tore through flesh, but it didn't fall. Mira ducked behind a rusted gurney and pulled a flare from her bag. Flash it. Cashin tossed the flare at her signal. The chamber erupted in blinding light. The creature shrieked, stumbling back, but even as it burned, it smiled. Its eyes, molten gold, locked onto Cashin. It wasn't trying to kill him. It was following him. Worshipping him. Why isn't it attacking? Mira breathed. Cashin stepped forward. The creature dropped to one knee. And whispered. You are the gate. They left Ravenlock before nightfall. Outside the wind howled. Cashin stared at his hands. I felt it, he murmured. When that thing looked at me, I felt its thoughts. Like it was inside me. Mira didn't respond immediately. Then, they don't see you as prey anymore. He looked at her. They see you as a leader. The resistance. By the time they reached the outskirts of Dalverston, a forgotten mining village south of Edinburgh, night had once again fallen. This time it felt different, watchful, as if the sky itself held its breath. Cashin and Mira walked the gravel track in silence. The overgrown path led to a series of collapsed cottages and derelict warehouses. A burnt-out road sign leaned at an angle, its words long faded, rust eating through the metal like rot. This is where he's hiding? Cashin muttered. Mira nodded. He wouldn't have stayed near any urban grid. After Cairo, Elijah went full ghost, scrubbed biometrics, burned IDs. He's division trained. He knows how to disappear. Cashin scanned the ruins ahead. Then how do we find him? We don't. She raised a flare launcher and fired a small crimson bolt into the sky. Seconds later the world shifted. A low mechanical whine began to build, and a holographic shimmer peeled away from the largest warehouse ahead. Beneath the illusion, a fortified entrance revealed itself. New steel doors, infrared turrets, reinforced concrete. Cashin arched a brow. He built this. He salvaged it, Mira replied. After Cairo he took what he could from abandoned sites. Brought others with him. Survivors. The doors groaned open. And there he was. Elijah Chin, older than Cashin remembered, sharper, colder. His hair was cropped short, his once clean uniform stitched with patches and scars. He held a rifle low but ready, eyes unreadable. Vale, he said. You look like shit. Cashin gave a grim smile. You don't look much better. Inside the safe house, everything was clinical. Weapons stacked on steel racks, coded maps, solar-powered systems, food supplies enough for months. Cashin recognized some faces in passing. Former division field agents, a few medics, even a tech analyst he thought had died in Cairo. Mira spoke first. Elijah. He's infected. With Omega. Elijah didn't flinch. I know. I've been watching. Satellite feeds. Deadlight tremors. Your signature's not subtle, Vale. Cashin stepped forward. Then you know what's coming. Elijah stared at him, then slowly nodded. It's already here. Division never stopped the protocol. They moved it, underground. You're just the most stable vessel they've had. And the spirits? Cashin asked. The revenants? They're drawn to me now. They're not drawn to you, Elijah said darkly. They recognize you. Mira frowned. What do you mean? Elijah stepped aside and activated a projector on the wall. An image of Cashin's medical scan appeared, alongside several others dated years apart. Deadlight didn't start last year. It began a decade ago. You were part of it before you knew it existed. Cashin's stomach turned. That's not possible. I only got exposed at Raven Lock. No, Elijah cut in. You got activated at Raven Lock. You were exposed during your first mission, 5 years ago. Cairo wasn't the beginning. It was the result. Cashin staggered back, blood draining from his face. Mira turned to him shocked. Your vitals. Your strength. The way you survived things no one else did. Cass, they weren't natural. Cashin's voice cracked. You're saying they've been using me all along? You're the key, Elijah said. The only one who bonded with it and didn't lose his mind. That's why Division let you survive. Why they're hunting you now. They don't want to destroy you. They want to control me. The silence stretched. Then Mira said softly, we still have the Cairo backups? Elijah nodded. Some. Fragmented. But enough. Then we can find the anchor point, she said. Where the spiritual tether originated. If we sever that. We sever him, Elijah interrupted. Mira hesitated. Cashin looked between them. Meaning? You sever the link, Elijah said quietly, and you might die. Or lose your body. Or worse, both of you. The spirit won't just fade. It'll fight. Cashin met his gaze. Let it. That night, as the others slept or patrolled the compound, Cashin stepped outside into the misted hills. The stars were out but faint. A strange breeze whispered through the grass. And in the darkness, Elijah joined him. For a long while neither spoke. Then Elijah said, I tried to kill myself once. After Cairo. Cashin didn't look at him. I know. Didn't work, Elijah muttered. But something changed after. I started seeing them. The ghosts. The hot flickers. Thought I was broken. Then I realized, it wasn't madness. It was the protocol waking up inside me. You were infected too? No, Elijah said. I was sensitive. That's all. But you? You were chosen. Cashin turned to him. And if I lose myself? Elijah looked at him, eyes hard. Then I'll do what has to be done.